Dan, what's your favorite thing about working in a brewery?
All of the delicious beers.
I think all the delicious beers are a close second for me. My favorite thing about working here is the way the look of joy lights up your face in the morning when I arrive with the key to your cage. But the beers are definitely a close second. And one of the things I really like about working at a brewery is occasionally people just give us beers, right? As if we don't have enough here already. Some very generous people bring in beers for us to drink. And before we even get into this week's incredibly exciting episode of Sakamichi Nights, we have a beer to taste that was given to us by a listener. So thank you very much, Nick from Mitaka, for bringing in this beer. What is the beer that we're going to be tasting?
It's called Swiss Bliss from Equilibrium Brewing in New York State. Upstate New York. Do you know what that means?
It's the opposite of downstate New York.
Yep, you've got it. Got it in one. It means not part of the city.
Right.
Lots of people are not aware that New York is about 99% farmland.
Yeah, if you look at it on a map, the city is kind of in the bottom right corner,
Yeah.
and everything else is in the top
There's
left
a lot
corner.
more to New York State than the city.
So Equilibrium comes from where in New York exactly?
The town's called Middletown.
Right.
I don't know where it is. Upstate
I'm guessing
somewhere.
it's in the middle.
Yeah. I don't know too much about it. I correctly clocked that it has a SUNY school in it, State University of New York.
Right.
Connected campuses, campi. I don't know. It's probably a small upstate town, city. I'm not sure.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about the beer that we'll be tasting?
So it's an imperial stout. It's got a lot of stuff in it. So first off, this is one thing. This is not several things, right? The first thing that's in it is Swiss chocolate almond coffee.
Okay.
That's not three things. That's a coffee that is Swiss chocolate almond coffee. And then on top of that, it also just has straight up almonds. So there's almonds in the coffee and there's almonds straight in the beer. Peanuts and marshmallow. Before we open this, you have a nut allergy?
Well, I guess we're about to find out.
Okay. This may be the last episode of
How about
Sakamichi
these nuts?
Nights. We're definitely allergic to that. Interestingly, they kind of bury the lead on this, but if you look on the side, this is a collaboration with a brewery called Short Throw Brewing,
Right.
which I'm not familiar with, but I've had a look at it. It's in Virginia. We like a lot of beer from Virginia.
We do, yeah.
So this is interesting. And Short Throw, I had a quick look at their website. They have some really great label art for their cans. They do a lot of kind of graffiti-themed stuff on their labels.
Right.
It's really good-looking and really eye-catching stuff. So, it seems like Short Throw is also making great beers and has a great sense of style. So maybe we need to talk to some of the importers and see about getting the Short Throw over here as well.
Some more Virginia beer over here in
Absolutely.
Tachikawa.
It's collaboration. It's Imperial Stout. I think it rocks in 11%, I think. Yep, 11%. So it's a big boy.
We haven't even started the episode yet. We're already getting stuck into the 11% Imperial Stouts.
I'm curious if this is going to be sweet. It doesn't say anywhere on here. You know, sometimes we use the classification dessert stout, right? To say it's going to be a bit sweet. This has marshmallow in it. Which I think used judiciously can add like a tiny bit of sweetness that rounds things out a bit, or when used with a heavy hand can make it quite rich and decadent, and make it like, you know, you would drink it and say this is a sweet beer. So I'm not sure which one this is going to be. I'm excited to find out.
Well, why don't you crack it open and pour a couple of glasses while I say a little bit about the brewery, Equilibrium, which, as you say, is located in Middletown, New York, upstate New York.
Midlaytown, I think.
Midlaytown,
That's it.
And was founded by three guys from MIT, actually. Do you know what MIT stands for?
By three guys from MIT.
The brewery was.
Right.
Do you know what MIT stands for?
It's the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Did
Wrong.
you go to a different one?
Wrong. It's massively intense textures.
Okay.
Massively intense tastes. No, but they were originally in the MIT program that works around the world in areas without clean drinking water and tried to provide clean water to those in need. And so they describe themselves as being experts at taking things out of water, working at concentrations of things in water. But while they were working on this program, they figured out that they also really enjoyed beer. And what is beer but things in water. So if you can take things out of water, surely you can put them back in again in a very controlled way. And so they try to blend the craft beer with the science to come up with some really interesting stuff. I will say, you've just poured 2 small glasses of this. This looks thick.
Thick is the word.
6 C's at the end. Let's have a little taste, shall we? Even the way it moves around in the glass seems very viscous and thick, doesn't it? What are you making of this beer?
Thick is the word. It texturally, it goes down like chocolate syrup. And in this particular beer, I don't think that's a bad thing.
Right.
In maybe a Mexican lager, I would be a little concerned at that kind of thickitude. In the aroma, I get a ton of the chocolate, almond, and marshmallow. Really, those 3 things combined. I think the chocolate almond hits me first, and then the marshmallow comes in afterwards. And then I feel like I don't smell so much of the coffee. But then when you drink it, you get a little bit of or a lot of the coffee flavor comes through on the palate, along with that kind of chocolate almond marshmallow combination. And I think that really helps to bring it back from being kind of cloyingly sweet, that the coffee undercuts that sweetness a little bit with the acridity, the bitterness that it has, and helps it to really balance out. So even though it goes down thick and it's extremely kind of chocolatey, it's not it doesn't tip over into being cloyingly sweet, I think. And I think the coffee is what's kind of pulling it back from that precipice.
Yeah, I definitely get a lot of coffee. That is, in fact, the first thing that I smelled and tasted on this. And a huge hit of coffee, and quite bitter coffee. It's almost like a mocha that blends together the chocolate and the bitter coffee. I didn't really taste that much marshmallow, but it's almost like somebody has somehow liquidized a marshmallow, right? The mouthfeel is like a marshmallow. It's so full and fluffy almost in the mouth. A really, really interesting beer. Why don't we give it a quick pairing? Let's just go wild card. You can pair this beer with anything that you like. What's it going to be?
I'm going to pair it with s'mores around a campfire with friends.
That does sound like a lot of sugar.
I'm just going to, let's just straight at it. Let's do the thing.
Let's just go for it.
I haven't had s'mores in a long time. I don't know, do adults eat them? I remember them being incredibly sweet even when I was a child. And it's a whole load of sugar. It's pretty amazing they give them to kids and then say right now, go get in your sleeping bag and go to sleep. Yeah.
For those of us who maybe don't know, what is in a s'more exactly?
You take graham crackers. You know what graham crackers are?
Like digestive biscuits.
Yeah, like kind of flat, rectangular ones. So you get those, and you get like a Hershey's chocolate bar or good chocolate if you have access to it.
Yeah.
And then you make a sandwich out of those, and you toast up some marshmallows, and you squish that in there. So the graham cracker is the bread, essentially, and then chocolate is the cheese, I guess. And the marshmallow is hot and melty in there, and it melts the chocolate a bit, and then you eat it like a sandwich.
Could you put some peanut butter in there as well?
Man, you sure could. You probably should, yeah. There should be a name for that. It's probably just peanut butter s'mores, isn't it?
Probably.
Yeah. There should be a better name for that.
That's a pretty good choice, I think. That's pairing like with like.
I'm just going to dive into it.
Absolutely, why not? I'm going to go in a slightly different direction. I want to pair this beer with a Bang.
That's it.
As you know, I used to live in Korea, which is actually where Nick bought this bottle of beer for us. And my pronunciation is terrible, but Bang is the Korean word for room. Okay. And so a karaoke place is called a noraebang, a singing room. And then there's the PC Bang as well, which just has rows and rows of guys playing StarCraft and smoking copious cigarettes. Okay. And sitting on the internet. And I think you could have a pretty good time just chilling out on the internet in the early 2000s with a bottle of this beer.
Getting your Zerg rush on.
It's not something that you'd want to rush through, right? But you need sustenance if you're going to teach these Yankees what for on StarCraft. Yeah. And so this would absolutely keep you going all night, I think. Yeah.
You'd need to reach some kind of equilibrium, though. I think if you drank the whole bottle of this, it might affect your playing negatively, but a little bit of it would probably loosen lower your inhibitions, make you a little less risk averse. You might take some chances. You might unlock some new strategies.
Yeah, it's a bit like playing pool, right? 2 beers increases your pool ability, but 3 beers decreases it again. Correct, You need to find that equilibrium, as you said.
Word of the day.
Great choices. Thank you very much for the beer, Nick, and happy birthday to you. I think people buying us beer for their birthdays is
be a thing.
Tradition that should be wholeheartedly embraced. Let's get on with the show. Hello and welcome back to Tachikawa. You are listening to Sakamichi Nights. My name is Matthew Boynton and I'm joined as always by Daniel Bellamy. How are you today, Dan?
Great. Very excited.
Why are you so excited today?
Because you and I are not alone.
Is that
in the universe?
Yes. Okay.
And in the tap room tonight.
Tell me more.
We have 2 guests. This is pretty exciting. Have we had 2 guests before? We have.
Yes, several times.
Okay. All right. Well, that doesn't diminish my excitement. We have 2 new guests, 2 first-timers.
Would you like to introduce our 2 first-time guests?
Sure. We have with us today Rene from Chelas. It's a craft beer bar that does tacos. It's a taco shop that does craft beer.
It's depending who you ask. But since you asked me, it's definitely a craft beer bar that does tacos.
Okay.
We're in Oyamadai, and we've got 8 taps. Craft beer bar. We definitely have a food menu. It's Tokyo and it's craft beer, so we want to offer some food. I'm from San Diego, California.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've heard of it. And we have a really deep Mexican food taco culture. So we wanted to bring that to our folks in Yamadai. We have a small taco menu, but we're really proud of it. And we combine that with tacos. In fact, our menu even has like some suggested pairings for taco and craft beer.
Yeah. Awesome. So we have Rene, who makes tacos in Oyamadai, and tacos arch nemesis, pizza, made by Mike at Devil Craft. Welcome, Mike.
I thought of you as an arch nemesis, but yeah, good to be here. Yeah, so Devil Craft, some of our listeners probably have heard, but we do pizza. Specifically, deep dish pizza is our pizza thing, and we are more of a craft beer place than a pizza place, I think, but that depends on who you ask as well.
I would agree with that, definitely.
Yeah.
But we've been at it for 11 years now and have 4 places around Tokyo.
Listeners to Sakamichi Nights and fans of Sakamichi will know you guys because we make Oni Koen together.
Right, the delicious Oni Koen. Do we still have that on tap?
We don't have it on tap here. No, we've run out. It's a really popular beer for us. Our customers really enjoy it.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. We liked it very much as well. We're making some more Kolsch, so maybe we can do that again.
Let's get that one in the brew schedule. People are always asking us why you guys called Sakamichi Brewing. The road outside your shop is completely flat. And it's a nice opportunity to tell a story about how Dan and I know each other through cycle touring and how the process of starting a brewery is also a fairly steep road. But what about you two? I don't actually know why Devil Craft is called Devil Craft. Why is Devil Craft called Devil Craft?
Did you make a pact with the devil?
Oh, many.
There was a crossroads. There was a fiddling contest.
You lost.
No, that was actually the decisions in small businesses take more time than they should sometimes. That one took the longest of any decision that we have had in these 11 years is what to call the company. We had a lot of ideas, and it took us, I think, 6 or 7 months to come to the name Devil Craft, but we all said, oh, that's the one as soon as we heard it. It's just a combination word of like witchcraft is, but we just took the word devil and craft and put it together. Obviously craft beer. That one's clear. The devil, we wanted to use the devil imagery, kind of the cute side of the devil rather than the evil, dark side, Satan worshipping devil.
Or possibly both.
Well, we do some of that. But yeah, there's some tradition of using those kind of images in beer. And we were interested in using those in our branding. And so we just took devil and craft and threw them together. And there is no space in that, in our name. Devil Craft is a single word, but we separate it in some of our branding, so then I stopped telling other people not to separate it.
What were some of the hot runner-ups for names?
Devil Works.
3 dudes.
Devil Works with
okay.
it was also a single word, but it was a German spelling, like WERKZ.
Okay.
And I think that I don't remember what number 3 might have been.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm European.
I think you made
Devil
the right choice.
Slice. Devil Slice.
That wasn't in the running.
Maybe it should have been.
Change it all down.
monthly pizza.
How about Chelas?
Chelas, I wish I had a story as good as Mike's. We just stole the name. And by steal, Chelas just means beer in slang in Spanish. Particularly places like Mexico City use it a lot. And other like South American countries, they know what Chelas means. But Chelas just means beer in slang, so we were very original. And we called our beer bar Beers.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's good.
It works for us.
As a fluent Spanish speaker, you would have known that already, Dan.
I didn't actually know that. When I was studying Spanish, I was more concerned with just learning how to speak so much. We didn't get into slang as much, right? Because it was more, you need to know these grammar points to be able to express things. So,
I mean, you sound like a real language learner, not like, when people travel and they're like, how do you say beer in Spanish? That would have been the first thing.
that's when someone would say Chelas to be cool.
Yes, to be cool.
I never got that.
And Chela, just to give you a really quick background, Chela actually, the way they use it in Spanish, it means blonde, right? Like rubia and Chela is like the same thing, blonde. And obviously with the large German migration that came to Mexico, all those beers were light color German Pilsner style beers. So Chela is just like your blonde beer, right? And that's why they say that.
Very interesting. To ask a little bit of a context question, how long have you been in business for?
Gosh, all of 5 months.
Wow.
We're a new shop. We opened July 1st officially, and this is our 6th month in business. Yeah, so we opened in Oyamadai. We don't live too far away. We looked at a lot of different neighborhoods. Oyamadai was a really nice fit for us. We're, a little bit older, and as much as we love, some of these other neighborhoods, Oyamadai really felt like a local place, a place we could kind of enjoy ourselves and show a little bit of craft beer to maybe a neighborhood that doesn't have a lot of that right now. And luckily we have some partners close by to kind of help us build, the craft beer movement in that part of Tokyo that hasn't seen a lot of that. I mean, Devil Craft Jugaoka is, a station away.
Right.
So we love that. And Kuhombutsu has a Belgian beer representative with Cafe Maison Decay. We've got ABC Coffee in Oyamadai too that has a couple of craft beers. And then Futako Beer and Futako Tamagawa. And we all got together to do a stamp rally recently, a couple of months ago, to try to just create some awareness of what's going on down there. But yeah, it's a growing movement down there. It's great.
Nice Punk Doily is also Oyamadai, right?
It is, yeah. Punk Doily is about 5 or 6 minutes away. And Kip and his wife have a great shop down there. I think what they're doing is awesome. We just teamed up with them to do a collaboration taco just last week. And it was an awesome partnership with them. So we're super happy to be so close and to be able to work with them.
Nice.
Yeah.
What was in the collaboration taco?
So it was, the recipe was called bistec ranchero, right? So it's basically like a ranch-style steak dish. And what I did is I shared the recipe with Kip. He took this awesome Aussie Cape Grim beef and did his own kind of version of it, tweaked it a little bit, added some guajillo chili, and then we just literally used the same exact food in a pie and a taco. And it went over like gangbusters. Wow. Yeah, it was
Sounds
really
like
great.
Quite the pairing.
It was. If you missed it, we'll probably do something down the road together, but it was a great start. Yeah.
Imagine putting something like that on a pizza.
I think we could do that.
Yeah, I would eat it.
Write this down. Quick, email this to ourselves. These ideas are too good to give away on a podcast.
Taco fillings on pizza. Is that
that's
the idea?
This is
never
SNL
been done
skit,
before?
right?
We did this before, but it was more of a gringo version.
Okay.
So I think we want to make it a little bit
Like a
more
Tex-Mex-y
real.
thing?
It was a Tex-Mex-y thing. It had a lot of tortilla chips on it. Let's put it that way.
I mean, I wouldn't mind you bringing back like the Mexican pizza from Taco Bell, right? That they don't have here in Japan. Have you ever had that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that was like definitely a guilty pleasure. You're saying no. You do know this thing?
I've never eaten any Taco Bell ever. So
What?
They don't have it. where I come from, or they didn't when I was growing up
They
there.
have it in Tokyo. Let's go. Let's make a date out of it.
Do they do
right?
Mexican pizza though?
No, but I think we could probably,
Yeah,
maybe
I
hack
think I'll
the menu
pass
a little
that.
bit or
Secret
something,
menu item.
Yeah. Do you know what's in it, by the way?
On a Mexican pizza,
Yeah.
I'm guessing ground beef, cheese, and jalapenos.
So you happen to talk about
Okay.
I don't
The
think
key
jalapenos
ingredients.
does the jalapenos. Those might be extra, but yeah, it's like 2 flour tortillas with beans and ground beef in it, topped with cheese and like their enchilada sauce, which honestly looks like somebody just spilled a bunch of stuff on a plate.
Yeah.
But when you're
being generous.
The stoner surprise.
when it's the middle of the night, it was so amazing. Yeah, I'm not ashamed to say Taco Bell sometimes.
There's a YouTube guy who takes fast food recipes, and then he's a chef by training, and he goes back and reproduces them, and he makes them into something what they should have been.
Kicks them up.
Yes, he did the Taco Bell pizza.
I gotta try this.
Yeah, gotta check
I
that
gotta
out.
check them out. Yeah.
Mike, same question to you. How long has Devil Craft been around for now?
We started in 2011, so right after the big quake and tsunami. In fact, we just had signed the first lease at our condo location, either right before or right after, I can't remember. I think it was right before. And then we came in right after the earthquake to find a bunch of things falling over and broken. But we were obviously the lucky ones. There wasn't anything serious damage. And we were one of the first craft beer bars in Conda. Not the first, but one of the first. Now I think there's like 10 within walking distance of our Conda location. So Conda was first in 2011, and then Hamamatsucho was not too long after that in 2013. And then we got the brewery going 4 or 5 years after opening the first location. Sound familiar?
Slightly, yes.
Not quite as long for you guys.
Was it the tax office that kept you waiting, or just getting the funding for it?
It was a combination of things. One was a victim of our own success. We were doing so well that the original plan was to put the brewery in Conda, which if anyone of our listeners have ever been to Conda would know that it's a kind of a crazy idea. It's a pretty small place. And we had advice from an architect who told us that you'd be well advised to rethink that plan because there's a lot of heavy equipment on the 5th floor. You don't want to add any more heavy stuff on the 4th floor and make this building even more top heavy than it already is. Mm-hmm. So we planned to do it in Hamamatsucho, but that was just a business decision. We decided to try to keep all of the seats that we had in the restaurant and the pub. And we gave ourselves 1 month to look for a standalone brewing location. We found one in our current location in Shinagawa. So that was 2015. 2016, we opened Gotanda, and then 2019, we opened Jiugaoka. So I think that's all we have so far.
So far, no Tachikawa branch yet.
Not yet. We're working on it. We just need to get that Chelas collab thing going, and then
we're gonna work on that, man. I don't want to, Mike's business Devil Craft's actually got a long history. We bought a new plant recently, so we don't have the same level of history. But definitely we're trying to improve our...
By plant, I assume you mean manufacturing plant, right?
No, it's...
Several thousand square foot.
It's just a small, like an aloe vera type plant we're trying to improve as well.
Big investment for you guys.
Big investment for us. It's our next step, yeah.
The feng shui.
We look forward to coming back several years from now and telling... stories about our development.
Baby
right
steps.
Now.
That's
we're just
actually still our motto.
We're just getting our footprint down, right now. But honestly, with partners like Devil Craft and we carry their beers quite a bit, we love to kind of introduce people in our neighborhood to those kinds of places that are so nearby and they don't even know about them.
Yeah.
I think for our customers, they're not necessarily craft beer nerds, if you will. Right? It's just a lot of local folk that are curious and they see a window with a big taco and a big beer thing on it and they say, I want to come in and check it out. And a lot of these folks are still, drinking the standard macro Japanese beers and there's a time and a place for everything. But it's really exciting to see their reaction, right? When they try something like a kelch that you make or, what did we have recently? What was that black beer that we had from you recently? It was so good.
Dark Disciple.
Was it
Black
Dark
Igneous.
Disciple? No. Give
What
me
else
more
they have?
names.
You're hired.
Something about Satan.
Oh, that makes sense. I don't know. Satan's butthole.
That was it. It was so... No, but really, like, once they poured it, everybody was like, what is this beer? It's so great. I'm like, this place is like 2 stops away from us. Why don't you just go there and eat it? And then we've been touting your Detroit-style pizza recently, because that is a godsend, and Tokyo really needed that. Like, I love their deep dish. Obviously, like, it's, amazing deep dish, especially like in Tokyo where we don't have a lot of this stuff. But that Detroit-style pizza, this square, crunchy, crispy edges thing, it's all like mochi soft in the middle, is so... Sorry, I'm just going to talk about your pizza basically the whole show. I'm obsessed with it.
Great. I just can't do justice to your
This is the least work we've had to do on the podcast.
You mentioned introducing people to great beer, and that is hopefully what we do on this podcast as well. So every week we take something that we have on tap, we drink it, and we talk about it a little bit. But we're going to do things slightly differently this week in that we're not going to tell you what the beer is until after we've tried it.
Mystery beer.
So let's dive into it.
I'm excited.
Okay, we're back. And each of us has a glass of some rather nice beer sitting in front of us. Who wants to go first and tell me what they think of this week's beer?
I'm happy to go.
Okay.
I was leaving space in case anyone else wanted to jump in there. I know what this beer is, though. But, it's... I feel like I could drink quite a lot of this. It's light and crisp and refreshing. I might prefer to drink heavier things in the winter. This tastes a bit summery to me, like a hot weather kind of beer. But, we have the heat on in here. We're not freezing. So you can come in here and sink quite a few glasses of this. It's tart. It's got a really light backbone. I don't want to give too much away because I know what this beer is. But, I feel like I could drink a couple of these and be pretty happy with that decision.
Mike, you look like a guy who's enjoyed a beer or two through his years. What do you think of this beer?
Is it that obvious?
Did he say you look like an alcoholic?
I think he was pretty much saying that.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
An enthusiast.
Enthusiast.
Yeah, pretty much what Dan said. I mean, it's very tart, light on its feet, fruity. About the summer-winter thing, I get that. But these days with, indoor heating the way it is, it's almost like I forget that it's cold. Today's a particularly cold day, but you forget that when you're indoors like this. It's beautiful too. Just looking at it, it's a beautiful color. Not particularly clear, but sort of a reddish, orangish red tones.
I'd say pinkish.
Yeah, it looks almost like a rosé wine to me, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
A nice rosé color. How about you, Rene? You enjoying this?
Yeah, it's got a nice beat. I can dance to it. It's definitely light beer, and I think, like Dan said, it definitely feels summery or spring or whatever. Very light, very fruity. I mean, I don't know. Is there some hibiscus or something? Should I start guessing stuff?
Oh, that's good, actually, yeah.
It definitely, it's crushable. I would definitely say it's crushable.
Crushability is our watchword.
Yeah, I don't think it's like too sweet. The tartness balances out. I could have a lot of glasses of this, and I could see already some food pairings in mind. But I'll save those, I guess.
Excellent. This is actually, it's a Berliner Weiss, a fruited Berliner Weiss. I wonder if you would be able to guess the fruit that is in this.
Well, I did, so I guess not.
It's not hibiscus, no.
Is it Sumomo?
It's not Sumomo. It's a good guess. So this is actually a beer that we made. This is the latest in our series of fruited Berliner Weiss. We're calling this one Dialectic Sour Cherry because it's got sour cherry puree in it. It's pretty subtle, I will say, the sour cherryness, but it's given the beer an excellent rosé color. And once you know it's there, once you hear that it has cherries, once you know what you're looking for, you can definitely taste a light and fruity, subtle sour cherry character.
For sure.
Kind of.
Yep. I think it's a good amount of tartness, right? This is something that could easily be overdone and be overwhelming, and then be a beer where, like we said, you could have a couple of these and be happy with it. But if that tartness is too strong, then it becomes a beer that maybe you can only have one, and you're kind of scraping your tongue afterwards trying to taste anything else. I feel like this is kind of nicely balanced. Like the wheat backbone is there, but it's light and crisp, and the tartness is not overpowering. So,
yeah, and I think the style lends itself to that too, the Berliner Weiss style, right? Versus like some kind of sour ale, which, like you said, is overdone a lot. And from the U.S., like I particularly love sour ales, but there was definitely just like the IPA race where everything got super hot, and you got these triple and quad hops that ended up hitting the streets, if you will. Some of those sours got overdone, and without naming names, there was definitely some enamel stripping sours that came out of the U.S. The past like 5-10 years. This is awesome. I would definitely drink a lot of this. So, nice job.
Thank you very much. Yeah. So, Dialectic Sour Cherry or Dialectic Morello Cherry. Either one of those two names. I don't think we've actually decided yet.
Oh, I like
so we're releasing. Cherry. It's made with Morello cherries. Yeah,
that sounds nice.
Will be released pretty soon. You mentioned, Rene, that you were already thinking of some pairing ideas. So why don't we spin the wheel of pairings and find out what we're going to be pairing this beer with this week? Of course, it can't be the two things we had on the two most recent episodes, which were
video games and food.
So it's not going to be food.
It can't be food.
It's not going to be video games. Let's roll the dice and find out. Drinking companion.
Drinking companion?
That's right. So if you had to sit down and drink this beer with somebody, it could be a real, a fictional, living, dead, historical character. Previously, Dan has decided that he wants to sit in a bath with Winston Churchill drinking a beer. Pretty sure I remember that.
In the same bath?
My words are frequently misconstrued on this podcast. Don't allow him to rewrite history.
Pretty sure that's what you said. If only there was some way for you to check that. Who would you like to drink this beer with? Could be anybody.
I'll give my answer and you guys can pay no attention and think about your answer. I would like to drink this with Wolverine.
Okay.
Have I said an X-Man before?
I don't think any of us have said an X-Man before.
All right. Good. Wolverine.
Okay, why Wolverine and not Gambit?
Wolverine, he seems like a pretty interesting dude, right? But he's also very serious and seems quite dramatic all the time. And I feel like if we were drinking this is quite a light and crisp and refreshing beer, and I feel like it would take his edge off a little bit and allow him to just chill out for a bit, not be such a hard ass.
Okay.
Then you're going to get to the real Wolverine.
Underneath the flesh.
The soft, cuddly Wolverine.
The adamantium skeleton.
Yeah.
Is he wearing the spandex?
I'm thinking kind of the ripped singlet, dirty ripped singlet look from Logan, that kind of...
Right, the blue jeans, the white vest.
Yeah.
Are you in the forest?
We don't need to flesh it out any more than this. I haven't really gone that deep on it, but he's a bit of a prickly character, and I feel like this is going to take the edge off a little bit and let me get to know the real Wolverine.
Interesting. It's quite a picture you've painted there.
Yeah, indeed. I feel like you painted most of the picture, but okay.
Rene?
For me, I don't know. I would probably say Snoop Dogg. I think Snoop Dogg would be an interesting person to have this beer with. He's a pretty interesting commentator now that he's a little bit older and has a lot of interesting things to say about a lot of stuff. I think that because this has kind of like a rosé, to me, almost like an Alizé character, right? Like a little bit of booze and a little bit of fruit in there. It could be something like not quite gin and juicy, but I think he's definitely in the neighborhood that could be fun to drink this stuff with. And I'd probably bring over some nice lady friends to hang out with and drink with as well. So,
nice.
Yeah, always good.
Because you are very much a food guy, what would you like to be serving to Snoop Dogg and his lady friends whilst you're drinking this beer?
I mean, that's a tough one. I don't know. I guess, I'd have to say a taco, right? That's what I do. So
you do have to say a taco.
I think I do have to say a taco. I don't know, probably one of our veggie ones. We do a lot of veggie tacos recently for our weekly specials, and they actually are really nice with these style beers. We particularly like fruit beers and light beers as well. So yeah,
is Snoop vegan?
I don't think he's vegan, but he's a California dude. So California, I love meat, but I'll eat some Brussels sprouts or whatever.
He's very slim, which implies to me that he might be a vegan.
That's true. I'm not very slim, but I also like vegetables, so I don't like to pigeonhole anybody, but yeah.
Snoop Dogg and some lovely lady friends.
Snoop Dogg's my guy and the lovely lady friends.
Some vegetable tacos.
Great choice.
And some vegetable tacos, yeah.
It'd be Tom Waits for me. I just want to hear his voice when he drinks it, and he says it's sour, and how it surprises him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see him as a beer person per se, but I would like to see and hear what he would have to say and how he would say it.
And what would that voice sound like, Mike?
Well, I can't really tell you what he'd say, but I'm not sure how much you like it.
Great. Excellent.
That's pretty good.
I love that you jumped right into it. No hesitation. It was great.
He's the best.
Yeah.
But he seems like a wine guy. He seems like he would enjoy some nice wine, though, right? So.
Well, you could maybe start on the Dialectic and see where the night took you.
Mm.
You know, you never know.
You do never know.
Who am I going to go for? I might go in a slightly different direction. I'm going to say I would enjoy sitting down for a glass of this with Baby Yoda.
See, he can't drink.
Yes, he can.
He's a baby.
But he is also 60 years old.
Is he only 60?
Or something like that. He's surprisingly old.
Okay.
His species matures slowly. And have any of you watched The Mandalorian?
Yeah, I love it.
He eats and drinks quite a lot
Yeah.
over the course of that. I wouldn't be totally shocked to see him tuck away a few glasses of Berliner Weiss, right, as he's eating that fish lady's babies, right?
God, I don't know why I knew you were going to mention that, because that does seem like a good pairing with this beer.
Yep.
The fish baby eggs.
It's kind of
Or are they
salty
frog?
and umami. Yeah, some kind of amphibian
Yeah.
eggs, and they need to get them to their planet so that they can spawn and she can give birth to her babies.
But he
And
eats them.
He eats most of them, yes. Which I felt was under-addressed in the TV show. That seems like a fairly awful thing to do.
Is this a normal topic for this podcast?
This is how it goes. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not because of you.
No, I'm just fascinated. I don't know if they'd seen my Star Wars tattoos.
I would
Can I take
also...
it back to galactic drinking age standards? How do you think they enforce that?
under which era? Are we talking New Republic, Old Republic, Empire?
Which one's going to be more heavy-handed with the
The
bureaucracy?
Empire,
The
definitely.
Empire.
Yeah.
How do you think it's just flat, like 21 years old kind of thing, regardless of species?
Yes.
Okay.
In fact, I think it's probably 18 years old because the Empire all have British accents.
What about
And that's
what
how
about
a drinking
Wookiees?
age.
Aren't they born with like a full beard and stuff? Like how do they?
Who was born with a beard?
The Wookiees.
Yeah, well, that's my question. Like,
So
it's
once
also
once
18
they
for
hit
them?
18, then they can have a drink.
Okay.
Your species' life cycle is shorter than 18 years. That's it.
Well, I guess you
Dry-
lose.
dry
But
planet.
the thing about the Empire is they're very human-centric, right? So you don't see very many non-humans reaching positions of seniority in the
That's
Empire. And so they would just take whatever the standard is for humans, for British humans, and they would apply it across everybody without looking at their individual circumstance. That's kind of the
Actually
Empire's
makes a
bag.
lot of sense. Yeah.
That's what the Empire would definitely do.
I don't even want to talk anymore. I just want to sit here and listen to this conversation.
Keep bringing beer.
I'm just gonna keep drinking.
I have good news for you. There are 79 other episodes of this podcast that you can enjoy. So yeah, Baby Yoda. I would also like to see him kind of magic a plume of this beer from the glass up into his mouth through the Force without touching it. I think that would be very entertaining to watch. And hey, who doesn't like to see a tiny drunk green baby? Nobody, exactly. I met with deafening silence.
Yeah.
Deafening silence. there.
No, I mean, I just think you made like an amazing case for your particular selection. Now I feel like I would like to come back sometime and think more about it because that was just perfect.
Hey, it's a party. Maybe Snoop Dogg and his lady friends and you can join us as well. I'm pretty sure Baby Yoda would enjoy some tacos.
I would pay anything to be at that party. Yeah.
Let's make it happen.
All right.
Let's make it happen.
All right.
Good pairings this week. Moving on, that crunching of gears you hear is me changing the subject completely.
Clean segue.
Smooth.
Because, Dan, I believe you have prepared some content this week.
Yeah, I'm playing on this taco and pizza, our mortal enemies angle. So I'm hoping to have you guys at each other's throats by the end of this.
Friends become enemies, enemies become friends.
Yeah. So desert island question. You're trapped on a desert island. You have an infinite supply of one food. Is it pizza or tacos?
Is there a C?
What's that?
Is there a C?
I mean, it's an island.
No, that's
There's
it.
a lot of C.
All right. Hey, well,
It's going to be tacos.
God, I love him already.
yeah. Did he surprise you with that?
No, because he's eating my tacos.
Are your partners going to fire you? That's okay?
They don't listen to this.
I think we're safe.
I love pizza, and my wife is in attendance, so you can ask her. Even bad pizza to me is still passable. And after the revelation of the Detroit style pizza, I have one more amazing choice here in Tokyo. I'm gonna just keep talking about it because I'm really in love with that pizza. But I definitely would pick tacos. Yeah, I just love tortillas, man. Like
Right.
I'm Chicano. Like it's in my blood. It's hard for me to not pick that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Would the pizza or tacos be prepared for you, or are you preparing them yourself?
It's like a broken Star Trek. What's it called?
A replicator.
Replicator. That thing. Yeah.
So you've got some dilithium crystals there as well. Is that what you're saying?
Sure. Why not? Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But you got to pick one.
It's broken, like I said.
See, I think, and maybe Mike, this is where you were going with the ocean all around you. You could get fish, right? I'm pretty sure you could have a good fish taco. I don't think I've ever seen a good fish pizza. Although maybe you can set me straight on that.
It was more just what I want to eat more days of the week
Right.
answer.
Right. Okay.
I love pizza maybe more than tacos, but that's like once a week. I would have tacos literally almost every day. So that was why.
Right. If it was Detroit style
I see
pizza
once a
every
month.
day, you'd be burning a lot of calories. You'd have to be running around that island.
You're
like
on a
a
diet.
rabbit.
You're probably
Think about
doing a lot of
calories,
stuff.
but I don't. It's just like I just don't want that much bulk every day. It's a special party food kind of feel for me.
Right. Right.
So tacos to me, it's not a party food. It's just something I want to eat all the time.
Daily nourishment.
And you were giving me some advice how to do the tortillas. So I got my daughter and my wife making the
Are they
tortillas.
Are they puffing now?
We're working on it.
Okay.
We needed a few more
We're getting
pointers
there.
for
We're
sure.
getting
Are
there.
you putting puffin in the tortillas? This is bold new territory.
We were tapping them the wrong way or something.
Okay. Yeah, they got the tortillas got to puff, and so when you're making fresh tortillas, and we do all of them by hand,
Delicious.
Thank you so much. We work really hard on that. When we talk to some friends of ours that have Mexican food places around Tokyo, and we're a bar, so they said you're going to make fresh tortillas for your tacos. I said, yeah, we'll just make them to order. Like, nobody does that. Why would you do that for a bar? But our menu is so simple. We want to make sure that you get like the best representation. And coming from San Diego, if I was using store-bought tortillas, which is already tough to source in Tokyo in general, I just feel like the message is missed a little bit. That whole base, that whole corn, without getting too deep into how much it's like a nourishment for people of Mexico, and has been for such a long time. It's the basis of a taco, right? So if you don't have a good tortilla, no matter what you throw on it, it's going to be missing something. So that was our number one thing, is get that tortilla down right and get it to puff. Yeah.
Puffing is key.
Puffing is key. Puffing is key. So that's what's going to cook it through, right in the middle, and give you like a nice, soft, warm outside, but it's all cooked through. So really nice.
Yeah. I heard that you guys at Devil Craft also spent a lot of time working on your pizza recipe as well.
Yeah, well, the first Chicago style, Jason spent like a year before we opened up. So that was his baby. Before we opened, he said his family was so sick of pizza before we actually got open that they didn't want to touch it anymore. But
They had to eat all the bad ones, right?
well, there's no bad ones, but yeah, a lot of the experiments, yeah. So, but we dialed it in, and it's the Detroit is a whole different thing, though. It's a whole different dough.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Well, the Detroit is kind of like a focaccia dough.
Yeah.
People are familiar with focaccia. It's basically like
You
a
can believe that
focaccia
later.
basis. Whereas the Detroit one it's a fairly thin crust, but the pizza itself is thick. But the thickness comes from all of the toppings, especially the sauce. There's about 500 grams of sauce on the large pizza, so it's a very large amount of marinara sauce. But the dough is more essential on the Detroit versus the Chicago. The Chicago is kind of a fairly standard dough, whereas the Detroit is a bit hard to deal with high hydration dough. So that's where the puffing comes back in again.
Thick with 2 C's. My favorite part of that pizza really is just the crust when like the cheese gets all baked in there and all crispy, slightly burned.
It's a hallmark, isn't it?
That's the calling card there.
It's a whole thing. Yeah.
Do you have to use special trays to bake it in? Did you fabricate them yourselves or at the steel shop next to your brewery?
Well, we've had them make a lot of things for us, but no, the ones that we bake the pizzas in, both the Detroit and the Chicago, come from a place called Lloyd's Pans in the U.S. So they're specifically for pizza ware. Yeah.
So you guys are both making non-Japanese food in Japan. Do you have any struggle sourcing particular ingredients? Like you wanted something very authentic for the tortillas that you couldn't find here, or anything for the pizza toppings or the pizza dough was tricky to source here?
You definitely started earlier, so you probably have a
any of the flours, if you knew where to look, you could find them from the time we started, because there were so many Italian pizza places here, and so the flour that we use isn't as specialized as a lot of Italian pizza dough flour is. But the cheese, we spent a lot of time with our cheese supplier, going back and forth, and they created a unique blend of our DC cheese that we use as mostly 80% of our cheese. So that was after we sort of took off. But it's not that hard to get what we need, to be honest. I think you might have some more challenges, Rene, than we do.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit, but you'd be surprised. I think if I can, soapbox for just a minute, the word authentic to me is tough, because and we've talked about this, right? You and I have had this conversation a lot, is that when you are talking about foods that are not Japanese, and that particularly not even just like American, but maybe belong to another culture, because authentic American, I think, is hard. When they're like, is that authentic American? I mean, I don't hear that a lot, right? Yeah. But when you talk about authentic Mexican, I hear that a lot. However, it's a very large country, folks. So when they say, well, flour tortillas are not authentic, that's just a bunch of garbage, because northern Mexico, uses a lot of flour tortillas, etc. So without going too far down that rabbit hole, I work with what I have, and I work with the flavors that I can get, and we want to use local suppliers, and we want to use local ingredients as much as possible. Because I think that's important for your high quality of food. We don't want to necessarily import a bunch of stuff. I have struggles with it. We have this green salsa with tomatillo and jalapenos that we source here in Japan, and they're amazing, but the season is over. So, for a lot of folks, this is the last week that we had our green salsa, which is really, really popular, and we'll bring it back when we can get it fresh again. But we're cognizant of that. And we don't really focus too much on authenticity as much as flavor and trying to use local stuff.
Jason from Devil Craft comes in here sometimes. He lives in this area. And he was here one afternoon, and there was another American guy in here with his friends. And he had several beers. And he was letting his opinions be known. And somehow the topic of Devil Craft came up. And they hadn't spoken to Jason. I was having a conversation with Jason at the bar. Somehow they started talking about Devil Craft, and this guy was from Chicago. Oh. And he had some things to say about Devil Craft and how it wasn't. He went off for about 15 minutes, very, very loudly on his feelings about how Devil Craft was not Chicago-style pizza, and it wasn't authentic, and he was very upset about the whole thing. And then at the end of it, he went, "But it's the best you can get, so I go there anyway." And those guys ended up leaving, and I asked Jason about it, and he was like, well, yeah, I mean, we're kind of Chicago-style pizza, right? Like, we're not trying to be totally authentic. We're trying to make something for the Japanese market and something that we think will sell over here and that we can do at scale. But yeah, that guy was very much into this is not authentic, and I'm angry about it, but I still go there because... It's still good pizza at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I actually really get that. I think that everybody has their idea of what something is, right? And I've been in Chicago and had like Giordano's and what's the other one? The two big ones. There's Giordano's and there's
Gino's East.
Sparrow. That famous Chicago chain, Sparrow.
Oh, that's amazing one. I think that's the one you eat with the fork and the knife, right?
Yeah.
But there's
a lot of mayonnaise and corn on it. Chicago style mayonnaise.
Excellent. And the tuna is my personal favorite. But yeah, so the Giordano's and the whatever the other one is. Sorry, not from Chicago. But it's like a very divided. Like if you like this one, then you're cool, and if you don't like this one, etc. But I think that, again, just going back to that, when somebody comes in, and they say, oh, well, your taco's really great. They're the most authentic. Like, I love that. And thank you so much for that compliment. But to me, they're just San Diego style. And there's a lot of freedom with what you can do. I think the important thing is making a good tortilla and having a nice salsa. And kind of everything in between is negotiable for me,
right?
As far as like your fillings and things like that. So, yeah.
I think
I really love what you guys are doing.
Yeah, thank you.
I think when you have that attitude, it frees you up to be really creative as well, right? You're not beholden to any kind of tradition or rules. You can make what you want, right?
Yeah.
You can make whatever fillings you want for the tacos. You can make whatever kind of pizzas you want without having to stick to any kind of rigid expectation of what it is you're supposed to be making.
Yeah, and I think if you have an understanding of, in my particular case, like the culture. My family's from Mexico. Does that make me an expert in Mexican food? Absolutely not. I mean, I love corn dogs. And I love, Tostino's pizza rolls and all that stuff. Like, so I love all kinds of different food and junk food and everything like that. I'm just saying that, in that sense, that whatever your experience is with food is going to color how you see it. But I think if you're open-minded, and you understand the culture a little bit, whatever you make is okay. There's no hard rules. It's food. Have fun with it. If it's delicious, great.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we have the same discussions around beer sometimes, around beer styles, right? I know some people who are very into beer, some extreme beer enthusiasts, present company accepted Mike, might get very hung up on saying, well, how can you call this a pale ale when you used these German hops? Or how can you call this a Pilsner when you didn't decoction mash it, and so on.
Indeed.
And to be honest, I don't really care about any of that, right? And maybe we've talked about this before, Dan, like it's helpful in letting customers know what kind of thing they can expect from a beer when they look at the style on the menu. Say, okay, well, I'm going to order this because that's a style that I like, but it shouldn't be limiting in what you're allowed to do within that style. And maybe it's the same for food, right?
I mean, I agree. And, speaking as a bar owner, my wife and I, like, we don't stray away from beers that are a little bit funky or don't fit the particular mold of what something should be. And I've been drinking craft beer in San Diego for a long time. So places like Sierra Nevada, that people think are kind of maybe older. And I see it more as like classic. Like, I love those flavors, Cascade hops and the bite and the malt balance and all that. But if somebody's going to make a beer that they choose to call it a, whatever style something, and it doesn't fit the mold, if it's good, that's great. And if the customers are happy drinking it, even better, because I want to introduce new things to them without staying in that rigid mold of this is supposed to be this. And I think, like you said, food's the same way.
Yeah, I'm definitely of the mind of one of my senseis is Meathead Goldwyn, who's pretty well known on the smoking meat forums on the interwebs, and his cardinal rule is there are no rules in the kitchen or the bedroom.
Just get to smoking.
Get that meat smoking.
Get it smoking.
I'm sorry, what's his name again?
His name is Meathead Goldwyn. I kid you not, and he's the real deal. But it's the same question of authenticity. Is it good? Is it compelling?
Yeah.
Was care taken in its production? And if the answer is yes, then carry on.
Yeah, agreed.
I think Matthew's point about styles is important, though, right? Like, when you're looking at a tap board and it says it's a certain style, if it more closely aligns with a different style, then that's misleading for people, right? And that can be frustrating for people trying to order something.
It can be.
Or a bar trying to order a keg from a supplier as well. So, there's purpose to having like these kind of standards that we all agree on. But that's not to say that, we have to rigidly stick to them, or that you can't enjoy something that kind of pushes the boundaries a bit.
For sure.
I agree with that. I think one of the interesting things I'll say is that, and talking to Mike, I think Mike's very like-minded about explaining beers to people, and trying to not pontificate, because nobody wants to be like explained to why you should enjoy this beer, what's important about this beer. I think that you need to discover that on your own, right? Well, yeah. So, but I think that giving some context to everything, if I have like a new taco, I want to give some context on why it's special or why it's a certain price.
Taco context.
Everybody thinks tacos should be cheap, right? Street food. No. It depends on what you're putting into it and what you're getting out of it, and there's a time and a place. But if you get a new beer, if you don't, as a bar owner, or as a beer server, wherever you're at, if you don't add some context, I feel that there's a little bit of a disservice that can happen, to customers. They don't really understand what they're drinking and why maybe it's special. And I think that you're the communication gap between the brewer and the ultimate person who's going to enjoy that beer.
Sure.
And I think that relationship is so important.
Yeah.
I fully agree, but I also think we completely blew past Dan's coining for the word "tack context," which
tried to slip it in there.
Should be on your menus starting tomorrow.
Good to know. All right.
Education is part of what we do, for sure. I think it's really important, as you said, letting people know what the beer is and why it tastes a certain way. And it's a good way, I think, also to turn people from people coming in and going like, I don't like Pilsners, to, maybe it's not their first choice, but they can appreciate them now, right? Yeah. They understand what goes into it to make a good beer of whatever style it is. Education is definitely a huge part of it, especially as craft beer is still somewhat in its infancy in Japan, certainly in its reach to the general public. So having new people come in and being able to help them try different things and find new flavors and new styles of beer, I think is an important part of what we do. Maybe importance, maybe not the right word, but a valuable thing that we do.
The important thing is to keep that meat smoking.
Absolutely.
In the bedroom.
Was it
where was the other place?
Just everywhere. Wherever you go. The bus shelter.
Meathead Goldwyn.
Well, that's excellent. Do you have any other questions?
I do, but no. We can wrap this.
Wrap it up.
That's it?
Let me wrap it up then. I'll thank you both. You can... this is all going to cut out. I'll thank you both. You can say where people can find out more about your stuff if you want to plug anything
mention your
in particular.
socials and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure.
Hang on,
Instagram.
I'll lead into it.
Oh,
this
is all process.
This is all
off mic right now.
I thought we were just going off the rails, but that's okay.
Oh, we have. We're trying to get it back on.
That's excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming in, both of you today. Thank you, Rene. Thank you, Mike. It's been a really good, fun chat. Oh, and thank you, Dan. I feel like I don't thank you enough.
I was about to jump in there and thank myself, so I'm glad.
And thank you, Matthew.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Where can people find out more about you and what you do if they want to do that? Mike?
We are on the World Wide Web at en.devilcraft.jp.
Okay.
And everything goes from there for us.
Just Google Devil Craft.
We're there.
And you'll find out more about it.
Your website has tap lists for each of your branches, which I always really appreciate.
We do.
Yeah, yes. That's great.
They change daily, hopefully.
How about you, Rene? If people want to know more about your tacos, your tack context.
Yeah, no, definitely. We are also on the information superhighway at www.chelastokyo.com. We also have a daily tap list on there. It may match what's on tap at the bar. It may not.
What an exciting adventure.
We do our best. Generally about like 60% accuracy, I would say, 60 to 80.
Good.
But our Instagram at Chelas Tokyo usually have the most accurate information about hours and openings and events. So yeah, if you get a chance, check that out.
Dan, do we have anything coming up in the fridge or on tap boards that you think people ought to know about?
Well, I mean, we have the beer that we drank on the podcast, right? The Dialectic Sour Cherry is going to go on tap sometime towards the weekend, I guess.
Thursday, I would say.
Thursday? Yeah. All right, check it out on Thursday. I also secretly ordered a beer. I don't know if you noticed this. I ordered a beer specifically for you.
Okay. What is it?
Did you not see this email?
I get a lot of emails. What is it? It's the Graham Cracker Porter from Denver Brewings. Okay, I did see that, yes.
I ordered a case of Denver Brewings' excellent Graham Cracker Porter. Have you had that beer?
I haven't.
Man, it is so good. It's a favorite of both mine and Matthew's, so I snagged a keg of that. So that's a case of that. That's going to arrive on Friday.
I really like everything from Denver Brewing, but that's a particular favorite.
Yeah.
Graham Cracker Porter.
Also coming out this weekend, and fingers crossed we can get some, is the second year that West Coast Brewing and Batade have done a collaboration, window to Verter and window to West Coast Brewing.
Yes.
We were not, that thing is some hot moving beer.
That looks
We
excellent.
were not able to grab cases of that last year, so we're going to try and get it this year, and if we do, that will hit the shelves on Friday as well.
Get your clicking fingers ready.
Yeah.
Start warming them up now.
Yep.
Can I just say how interesting that is, to the craft beer movement as far as, obviously just so many people, so many new craft beer bars trying to source beer. And it does remind me of those kind of old beer releases where you got to F5 this thing to get your keg or get your case. But it's so great when you can bring that and share that with like your folks in your area.
It's nice that it's in demand like
Absolutely.
that, right? That shows like the reach of it, and that there are customers on the other end of that are waiting for those beers.
Yeah. So we'll be competing against you guys tomorrow. So
May the best bar win.
had the best.
Thanks very much for listening, everybody. Keep the meat smoking, and we will see you again next time.